the LaxFactor podcast. What is up, college lacrosse fans? You are watching the LaxFactor podcast. I believe this is episode 253. I'm your host, Ted Hoost, and today we are going to talk about a bunch of lacrosse games. We had great games both Friday and Saturday, and this time I will not forget the Friday games. We're going to talk about first, number 1 Duke against number 2 Notre Dame. Then we're going to talk about the Maryland and Ohio State game that had everybody kind of angry at John Tillman, including myself. We'll talk about UVA and North Carolina from Friday as well. We're going to talk about Michigan, Rutgers, Syracuse and Princeton. We're going to talk about Penn State and Hopkins, Villanova, Denver, Cornell, Harvard, Penn, Brown, Vermont, Binghamton. Those are all games I have a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to say. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube so you're always notified when we put out new videos. And as always, you can go to LaxFactor.com if you're wondering, hey, what is Ted put out this week? The videos, I always put them here. I always update them on the page. You can always just go to the podcast section where you can find both the audio feed as well as all of the video episodes and all that good crap. And all I ask, just share the crap out of the podcast with your homeboys or your homegirls. And as always, you can go to LaxFactor.com, get swag and crap like that to support us. But I want to shut the heck up and I want to get right down and dirty. And I want to start talking about this Duke and Notre Dame game. I mentioned in this game's preview on Thursday that Notre Dame was a team that has mastered going on runs and in some cases long extended runs, and that proved true on Saturday against the number 1 team in the country, Duke. The first 4-goal run was started on the defensive side of the field. A Liam Entenmann save picked up by Ben Ramsey. Ramsey picked up the rebound after a minor scrum, went coast to coast, and when the Duke defense didn't slide, he unleashed a shot on the run that beat Wilhelm. That tied the score at 3s. That run was capped by a crazy sequence that saw Jake Taylor pick up a ground ball with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. He sends it BTB to Pat Kavanaugh on the crease, who then immediately sends it BTB towards the goal. That beats Helm. That gives the Irish a 6-3 lead that they would never relinquish. And that highlight that I just showed you is also going to get this video flagged, and every penny in ad revenue that this video gets is going to go to the copyright holder. That happens here. The next run of 4 goals would start just under 4 minutes to play in the second quarter. Pat Kavanaugh unassisted and capped at the top of the third quarter a monster rip from Eric Dobson, top middle on a dish from Riley Gray. That made the score 10-4. Eric Dobson had a great game. I think he had 3 goals and a helper. Dude's got a monster, one of the best shooters from out top with time and room and his hands free in the country, bar none. The final run was of the 5-goal variety. Once again, started by Pat Kavanaugh. An insane question mark dodge up the left where Brower was playing perfect defense, but Kavanaugh was able to get that shot off anyway. That made the score 13-9 in favor of the Irish. And then that run was capped by brother Chris. He scored an unassisted goal of his own with 9:53 remaining in the contest. A dodge down the right alley, buried it top cheddar on Helm, and that gave Notre Dame a 17-9 advantage. Duke scored the game's final 3 goals, but do we really care about that at this point? Jake Naso did in fact win 22 of 32 draws. Now, I assumed for sure if Naso won that high of a percentage of the draws, that would give Duke enough possessions that they'd have a huge advantage and that they would probably win this game. And the opposite ended up being true. Naso's wins were partly undone by Wilhelm having a tough day. He stopped just 10 of the 27 shots that he faced. Notre Dame also took incredible care of the ball, only turning the ball over 9 times on the day to Duke's 14. So that kind of evened out that possession disparity. Liam Entenmann, he played well in net. Didn't commit too many robberies, but he made the saves that he should have made. And with Chris Fake and the Notre Dame defense doing an incredible job limiting the looks that O'Neal and McAdory had, that was all the Irish needed to pull out this win. O'Neal was held to a goal, McAdory 1 goal and 1 helper. And specifically Chris Fake, I have to mention Chris Fake because he drew O'Neal's number most of the time. He forced O'Neal into 5 turnovers off just 4 shots and a single goal in the game. Not a very good game for O'Neal. I think you could say it's easily the worst game of the season for O'Neal, potentially one of the worst games of O'Neal's career. Credit Fake and his pals because it was a total team effort. Even where O'Neal may have gotten a step, the help was always quick to come. The recoveries and the covering of the backside were incredible, hence the 5 turnovers that O'Neal had. He probably had more than 5 turnovers because a couple of his shots were popcorn that Entenmann saved and it went right back up the other way. So incredible job by that Notre Dame defense. In terms of what does this win or loss mean for each team, Not a whole lot. I got a typo here. Not a whole lot. Notre Dame, they're going to be back at number 1 on Monday. Both of these teams have already built an NCAA tournament worthy resume. So this game was just dope across the board, just some fodder for all of us to enjoy. I don't think it's going to help or hurt either team outside of where it ends up positioning them in terms of RPI, tournament seeding, and all of that crap. Absolute incredible game here. If we go in and we look at the stats, you see Balsamo, the freshman for Duke, was 2-1, and then Dyson Williams 3-0 off 6 shots. But then you see Garrett Ledman 1-1. That's fairly average for him. McAdory, though, is averaging, I think, almost 3 goals a game. He goes 1-1 here. Brennan O'Neill, 1 goal off 4 shots, 3 shots on cage, but saves by Entenmann, and then 5 turnovers in the day. Just not a very good day for him. And then if we come down here and we look at Notre Dame, Pat Kavanaugh 3 of 5 off just 6 shots. Chris Kavanaugh 5 goals off 9 shots. And as was said in the telecast, when you're 2 of your best offensive players are also scrapping and leading your team in ground balls. You see Pat Kavanaugh here had 5 ground balls on the day. That's more ground balls than even his face-off men had. That is absolutely incredible. That sets the tone for how your team is going to play when your top scorers are scrapping, fighting, picking up ground balls, trying to hit people, riding like animals, and putting up big points. You just can't say enough about what the Kavanaugh brothers mean to this Notre Dame team. But once again, like I said, this was a defensive effort here. That Notre Dame defense did a bonkers job limiting that Duke offense, and the Duke offense has been playing as well as anyone. I had said that I felt like I had to pick Duke as well as they had been playing up to this point offensively. And, now I don't have to anymore. Notre Dame proved, hey, these guys are not on the roll you thought. We slowed their roll. We picked up the win. And that is all I have to say about that. Now, the main thing people are going to want to talk about in this game, number 5 Maryland against number 17 Ohio State, is that John Tillman made a sketchy-ass move. He claims he just mentioned the gloves of the face-off guy for Ohio State in this one and mentioned, hey, aren't they supposed to have the same colored gloves? That resulted in the officials giving Maryland the ball in overtime with, I think, 2 minutes left in the overtime period. I might be wrong on that. Either way, it was a total boneheaded move, I think, by Tillman, a total shit move. Lacrosse Twitter was all mad. The only people on Lacrosse Twitter that were defending him were Maryland fans. Almost everybody else universally thought it was bullshit, including me. At one point in his career, in this season even, he was my number 2 coach. If you said, who are your favorite 2 coaches in college lacrosse right now, I would have told you John Tillman was my number 2. No longer. He is now not even in my top 10. He might not even be in my top 20. That was a complete bullshit move. I could understand a stick check, something that might be giving a guy a competitive advantage. The color of your gloves does not give you a competitive advantage. And for him to even mention that to the officials at that point in the game, even if that's how it went down and he didn't lobby for for the technical that was called, it wasn't a penalty. It was a technical without possession, which just gave the ball to Maryland. Even if he didn't lobby in that way, it was still bullshit. He knew exactly what he was doing, and fuck that guy. All right. Now let's move on, though, because the Maryland players don't deserve that type of smoke, and they ended up putting up a hell of a game here in this one. So in terms of how this game played out, Ohio State controlled this game from the start, but faltered badly down the stretch. The Buckeyes took an 11-8 lead with 1:24 left in the third quarter off an Ed Sheehan goal assisted by Kyle Borda. Then the wheels came off for the home team. Daniel Kelly got Maryland back to within 2 goals just 2 minutes and 2 seconds into the fourth quarter off a dish by Ryan Syracuse, which he should just be playing for Syracuse, let's be honest. A nice cross-crease feed by Syracuse as Kelly was alone all by himself on the backside. Eric Spano scored with 5:50 left in the fourth to get Maryland back to within a goal, and it was Daniel Kelly again, this time a step down from the high crease on a dish from Braden Erksa. Not even necessarily high crease, might have been a little bit outside of the high crease, but he was alone in that very high crease region. Erksa finds him, Kelly steps down and scores, and now the score is tied. So you know the deal. We're going into OT. You already know about Tillman's bullshit move. We won't talk about that anymore. Braden Erksa, he scores the game winner for the Terps, dodging from X up the right side. Now my DVR cut off the game, the overtime period, or it cut off the overtime period after the bullshit move by Tillman. So my only view of the goal was from Twitter, a shot from the Terps sideline, but a hell of a dodge up that right side from X by Erksa, gets his hands free, gets a shot off. Terps win the game. kumbaya for everybody. It really was, in terms of the Maryland team, a hell of a job here to battle back from being down late and to come back and win. You see Daniel Kelly, he's with 4 goals in this game. Zach Whittier, 2-1. Braden Erksa, 1-1. Eric Spanos, 2-0. I mean, you're getting scoring out of Maryland from not even the normal guys. Which is absolutely incredible. Ajax Zapatello, 2 caused turnovers here on the day. Good job out of him. From the Ohio State side here, Ed Sheehan, 5 goals. Kyle Borda, 2-1. Jack Myers held to just a goal off 4 shots on the day. Not going to be good enough. And then Brian Rupel, both goalies kind of had middling days here. Brian Rupel, 8 saves, 11 goals against. Skylar Walland, 8 saves, 12 goals against. Not great. But key here, once again, Maryland wins the face-off battle. There it is. Luke Weirman here. Luke Weirman goes 19-26, so he wins the face-off battle. Down the stretch, it's always going to be huge in a close game. So Weirman wins the face-off battle. Maryland wins this game in overtime. Yes, some bullshit did go down, but doesn't matter. Maryland wins, and I don't really care because I have no dog in the fight anyway. Another game from Friday night. We've got number 3 Virginia taking on number 9 North Carolina. This game absolutely over by the end of the first quarter. Playing without Connor Schellenberger, that did not in any manner hinder the Cavs offense from going on runs. After UNC took a 1-zip lead just a couple of minutes into the game, Virginia went on a 6-goal ripper of a run, in fact. The first three of the first 4 goals on that run were scored by Peyton Cormier, who had a huge day. Cormier scored the second goal of the run with 10:28 to play in the first quarter. Unassisted, just picks up a rebound off the backside of the crease, buried it, UVA up 2-1. Cormier would score again with just about 2 minutes later. Same thing, ball on the turf off to the left side of the crease. Cormier picks it up, buried another easy one. Virginia's up 3-1. Cormier's third goal of that run was more like what you would expect out of the Cavs here. Dixon kind of from that 5-and-5 area going up or down that right side to the right of the goalie if you're looking at it from the goalie side. He hits shots out top, middle of the field. He threaded the needle down to the left side of the crease. Easy stick for Cormier. That completed the natural hat trick also for Cormier, and then Virginia continued to roll from there. Virginia would also put up an 8-goal run between the second and third quarters, and that would put this game totally out of reach for UNC. On a day that saw Petey LaSala win only 17 of 33 draws, the story was the Virginia defense. Cole Kastner, he had 3 takeaways on the day as well as a goal. Xander Dixon forced 2 turnovers. Scott Bauer, he forced 2 turnovers. Scott Bauer forced 2 turnovers. Dixon did a great job riding with his 2 turnovers. He rode like a madman. I butchered that little segment there. I wrote it up wrong, and my notes were just completely non-legible for the most part. Matthew Nunes, he picked a good day to play well in cage. He stopped 12 shots to just 11 goals against, whereas the guy standing opposite him, Colin Krieg, who I think is actually on average a much better goalie, he had a rough go. Just 7 saves against 19 goals against. A very uncharacteristic day for Krieg, but he got almost no help from his defense, as the North Carolina defense just did not play well. They lost guys all over the field. Virginia played tough. They played physical. They got after loose balls. They played solid team defense. Carolina did the opposite of that. UNC picked up only 28 ground balls to Virginia's 42, and they had 7-man up opportunities. Carolina only scored on 1 of those 7-man up opportunities. For UNC, puts them officially on the bubble. They're lacking quality wins. Johns Hopkins is their only good win at the moment. You could make the argument Syracuse is a good win, especially if that win over Princeton puts Syracuse back in the top 20, and they have Syracuse coming up next. So for both teams, Carolina and Syracuse, you're dealing pretty much with a must-win in terms of trying to keep their hopes alive of getting into the NCAA tournament. If Carolina loses to Syracuse, and I'm just playing this from the Carolina side, if they lose to Syracuse, their last 2 games are both against Notre Dame. That does give them a chance to pick up 2 quality wins, but it's also playing against Notre Dame. So if Carolina loses to Syracuse and they lose these next 2 games to Notre Dame, there is no chance Carolina gets into the NCAA tournament. So that game against Syracuse, between Carolina and Syracuse this upcoming weekend in Carolina, in Chapel Hill, that is going to be all important for both teams that are playing here. For Virginia, they're likely fine so long as they don't lose out from here. And even if they lose out from here, there's a chance they still make it. Now, if we look at the scoring in this game real quick, Peyton Cormier, as I said, 5 goals, 2 helpers, 7 points off just 8 shots, an incredibly efficient day. Xander Dixon, 3-1. Thomas McConvey, the transfer from Vermont, 2-2. Griffin Schutz, 1 of 3. Excellent job by Schutz. Truett Sunderland even factored. Petey LaSala, he goes 17-33. Not a great day at the draw. On the draw for him, but he scores 2 goals. That more than makes up for only splitting the draws, a near 50-50. So a good job for him. And then Carolina offensively just can't get it going overall. They're just lacking firepower at this point. Logan McGovern, 2-2. Lance Tillman, 3-0. Just not good enough overall. But as we saw, Grayson Soliday, let me mention him. He also had 2 caused turnovers to go with Cade Sawstead's. Cole Kastner, he ends up with 1 as well. So all in all, great job for Virginia. They smoked them. Game's over. And we are moving on to the next game here. Another great game out of the Big Ten. Yet another game required overtime out of the Big Ten. Now, Rutgers took a 12-9 lead with 9:33 to play in the game thanks to Brian Cameron bullying his man up the left side from X and burying one past Shane Carr. It's good to see Brian Cameron starting to look healthy again back in that lineup. Michigan would mount a comeback started by Kevin Pimentel's man-up goal with 7:44 to play, dished by Ryan Cohen. Quick strike. The man-up play had just started. Pimentel was hanging open on that backside, what I called in my notes the backside of everything, and Cohen threaded the needle, hits him, and they score a goal. Another man-up opportunity resulting from that previous play was capitalized on by Peter Thompson, again from Ryan Cohen, and the Wolverines got things back to within a goal, 12-11 Rutgers. Michael Bohm would tie the game up at 12s with 4:11 left. A very nice dodge up that left side, doing a little bit of a turn back, ripped a nice little low to high. Very nice goal. That gets things tied up at 12s. And then this game goes into overtime. As I said, it is Shane Knobloch scoring a filthy goal in overtime. He's dodging down the left side, gets a pick. The pick ate his defender completely. No one hedged. Knobloch keeps going with his stick in his right hand on the inside as he's going down that left alley. He perfectly hits the corner going kind of 3/4 low to high while on the run. It was just a beautiful shot by number 27 with a difficulty level of no less than 9.7 out of 10. Even unguarded with no goalie, you'd have a hard time sticking that corner, just practicing that dodge, and Knobloch buried it. Now, in the end, in this one, it was turnovers that were Michigan's undoing. The Wolverines committed 15 turnovers on the day, while Rutgers did a good job taking care of the ball, only giving it up 6 times all day long. Shane Carr also factored in keeping this game close for Michigan. He's been splitting time in cage at times this season. He gets the full game for Michigan after making 6 saves in the first half. He plays even better in the second. He goes for 8 saves in the second half. Wasn't enough to get Michigan a win in the end, but I just wanted to say credit to Carr for having a good day when his team needed it. And then the Rutgers defense, they had their handful coming into this game as well as Michigan had been playing offensively. They played very well. Brad Apgar and Jack Stenizia, whatever the fuck that dude's name is, I have no idea. They combined for 7 caused turnovers. Let me show you that guy's name so that you know I'm not crazy. This guy here, Stanzik. Maybe it's just Stanzik. We're going to call him Jack Stanzik. He ended up with 3 caused turnovers in the day, though. Good job, but credit to that Rutgers defense. Credit to transfer goalkeeper Kyle Mullen, 11 saves, 12 goals against. Solid day. Shane Carr, a little bit better in terms of his percentage, but Mullen did enough to pick up the win as the goalkeeper. And then if we look at the scorers for everything, because I don't want to forget that, you see Brian Cameron back in the lineup, 4 goals. Shane Knobloch, 3-1 on the day, including that game winner. Justin Kim, the Cuse transfer, he goes for 2 goals. Just an excellent overall effort out of this Rutgers offense and off of their defense to pick up that win. Next one that I got to talk about, Syracuse against number 15 Princeton. As I said, Syracuse playing in a must-win game here on the road against Princeton. You could have made the argument it was a must-win for Princeton as well, albeit Princeton still has the Ivy League tournament that they can try to qualify for and get an automatic bid. So not quite a must-win for Princeton, but pretty damn close. Joey Spallina gave Syracuse a 7-3 lead off a man-up goal dished by Alex Simmons with 13:27 left in the second quarter. It was Spallina's second goal of the game and one of 4 man-up goals Syracuse would score on the day. Princeton would manage to get back to within a goal off a Sean Cameron goal with 2:43 to play in the first half. A step-down shot on a feed by Colter Maxey, but the Orange would answer with 2 late first-half goals, getting their lead back up to 3 going into the half. The first was Joey Spallina finding Michael Leo on the backside, the 4th man-up goal for Syracuse. Simmons picked up a rebound, hit Spallina BTB, who then sent it across the crease to a wide-open Leo, who simply dunked it. Nice little tic-tac-toe play. The second was Spallina getting some on his own with about 30 seconds left in the half. Spallina dodged his man behind X, up the left side, and for the second time in the game, instead of letting number 22 get to that 5-and-5, where he's famous for kind of whipping that behind-the-back no-look shot, they gave him the high side for that second time. Both times Spallina took advantage, wrapped around his man, scored the goal, made them pay for cheating a little bit here. Now, the story of this game was every time Princeton would score a goal that appeared to give them hope, Syracuse would answer back. Spallina had a monster 9-point day off 4 goals and 5 assists. He put up points as a Dodger, off ball. He distributed the rock. A great day for our only hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi here. However, it was the Syracuse defense and Fogo Jack Fine that pleased me the most in this outing. Fine won 20 of 32 draws on the day, a monster factor in this win. Without Fine's effort at the dot, no chance that Syracuse pulls this out. Dave Petramala, I want to give that man credit for how well he has this defense playing. Syracuse has been playing without their top 2 defenders all season. Landon Clary did manage to get back in the lineup in this one, and then within like the first minute of the game, it felt he ends up getting a penalty, drawing a penalty for an illegal body check. He ends up stumbling as he's getting up. Looked like he left the game with a concussion. So the Syracuse defense, once again, playing in a must-win game against a ranked team without their best 2 defenders, but somehow Petramala has these guys helping well. He has them playing, they're starting more and more to not lose those matchups, but even where they do, they're helping, they're covering the backside. Credit to Brandon Aviles, the short stick D midfielder. He's been injured for a bunch of the season. He came back and he looked solid, but you could tell he wasn't fully back. Now that he has his game legs back, Aviles has looked incredible. Credit Sam Alexo, the LSM. He's playing like an All-American at this stage right now. Not only as an LSM, he scored the opening goal off the opening faceoff for Syracuse here, but he's playing like an All-American because now he's starting to be asked to cover number one guys for these teams because he's kind of their best on-ball defender that's left. So credit to those guys, but credit to Petramala for how he has this defense playing. Will Mark, his usual pimp self, he stopped 17 shots against 13 goals against. For Syracuse, it gives them their first win against a ranked opponent all year. Like I said, if Vermont can win out a little bit, they just beat Binghamton here yesterday. If they can win out, that might give Syracuse 2 wins at this point over ranked opponents. We'll see how that plays out. But Syracuse has tilts against North Carolina, Virginia, and Duke all on the road coming up. So they have 3 more chances to pick up some quality wins. I think if they go 1-2 over that stretch, they'll at least be considered for the NCAA tournament. They probably end up being the one of the first teams out. If they can pick up 2 wins somehow over this stretch, Syracuse, they were almost a lock. I think if they beat Carolina, and then either Virginia or Duke, I think they're almost a lock for making the tournament because it'll give them enough quality wins with 0 bad losses overall. For Princeton, they have Dartmouth, Harvard, and Cornell up next. They already have 1 quality win over Yale, but that's about it. So they need to win 2 of their next 3 to make sure they have a chance of making the Ivy tournament so they could try to pick up the AQ, but I don't think they have enough chances to pick up quality wins at this point that they have any shot in an at-large bid. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Oh, wait, crap. Forgot. We got to go through the scores here, as I said. I did not do that in this game. So for Syracuse doesn't let us sort this thing as I keep complaining about here, but you see like Michael Leo was 1-2, Finn Thompson was 3-0. You see Spallina here 4-5 off 11 shots. Just a hell of a game there for Spallina. And who else here? Cole Kirst played a nice game, 3 goals here in this one. As we come down and we look at Princeton, Vardaro had a good game at attack, 2-2. Colter Maxey, 3-3. He was his usual self. It just wasn't enough to get it done. Will Mark has a great day in cage. Gianfrancaro did not play bad for Princeton. It's just Syracuse had too many doorstep looks, especially man-up wise. And another thing for Syracuse, 9 of their 16 goals were scored by freshmen in this game, which is a pretty bonkers stat. Great for the future for Syracuse. All right, next game, number 6, Johns Hopkins. Number 8, Penn State. Penn State took a 10-7 lead against Hopkins with just 12:58 remaining in the fourth quarter off an unassisted TJ Malone goal, a nice dodge from X up the right. He got the high side and buried it as he got above GLE. Hopkins would then go on a 4-goal run that would give them a 1-goal lead with just 2:37 remaining in the game. The go-ahead goal was scored by Russell Melendez, dished by Brendan Grimes, almost too easy. Grimes dodges up the right side from X, found Melendez out top alone. Melendez has plenty of time to step down into that shot. That put Hopkins up 11-10 late in this game. Just 20 seconds later, the Binghamton University transfer Kevin Winkoff would knot things back up at 11s on a dish from Jack Trainer. But it was deep at X off the end line. Hits Winkoff up that kind of right side, about goal line extended, and Winkoff just caught his man sleep and just took 2 hard steps upfield a little bit, got himself in front, kind of a little jump shot that buried it. Nice goal. That results in OT. In overtime, it was a broken play situation that resulted in Winkoff getting the ball out top in the middle of the field, about 15 yards. He steps down to about 13 or so, lets it rip, and just nails the top corner. That gave Penn State the win. A hell of a win for Penn State. And now the Big Ten is just we've got a bunch of teams that are 2-1 in the Big Ten, and then everybody else is 1-2 in the Big Ten. It is as tight as you get overall here. For Hopkins, Melendez had an incredible game, 6 goals. Brendan Grimes, 1-1. Garrett Degnan, 2-0. Casey McDermott, 0-2. Not great, though, because Penn State ends up picking up the win. TJ Malone, 4-3. Jack Trainer, 1-1. Matt Trainer and Kevin Winkoff both scored 2. You saw Winkoff scored the last 2 goals of the game to tie it, and the goal to tie it and the goal to win it, and then they win the game. Tim Marcial, 8 saves versus 12 goals against. It was Jack Fracion that played incredible in this one, 16 saves against 11 goals against. And then the Penn State face-off crew also did a good job. Chase Mullins, he wins 19 of 28 of the draws in this game. That's a huge advantage for Penn State in a very close game. They end up winning. Total team effort overall, though. Penn State never gave up. They just kept doing battle, just your typical Big Ten battle. I believe statistically this game was, kind of as close as you get overall. Just a hell of a job by Penn State to pull the win out on the road. And that's it. Now I get into the games that I have not fully written up here, but we are going to talk about. Denver picked up a solid home win against Villanova, 12-6 here. And what happened in this one? All right, it was this run right here in the middle. Denver scored. Richie Connell scored for Denver with 1:16 left in that first quarter. That tied things up at 2s. That was the beginning, the first goal in a run for Denver that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals deep. They scored that final goal of the run, 4:10 left in the third. Casey Wilson, unassisted. That gave Denver a 10-2 lead that they would never relinquish from there. They smoked it. One thing I was surprised about here, I thought one of the keys for Denver to be able to win this game was going to be Alex Stathakis at the faceoff dot. He did not have a great day. 11-21 at the faceoff dot. It didn't matter. Denver put it all together defensively. Total team effort on defense. They did just enough on offense just to be able to keep scoring goals, but that defense holding Villanova back every step of the way. They held All-American midfielder Matt Campbell scoreless, just an assist on the day. Only had 6 shots all day long. And I heard a lot of the credit here goes to the goalie play of Malcolm Kleben. He goes for 10 saves against 4 goals against. Stepped up big, but I believe from what I heard of the post-game press conference was he couldn't have done it without his defense. The Denver defense did an incredible job all game long, and then the goalkeeper stepped up when he had to, and they were able to win this game despite losing the face-off battle. So incredible job for Denver, and that's all I have to say about that one. Harvard manages to upset Cornell, which I was very surprised about actually here. Cornell jumped out to a 3-zip lead, but then Harvard scored 5 of the game's next 6 goals. That gave them a 5-4 lead. Cornell did manage to tie it up. CJ Kerr scored with 4:18 left in the third, unassisted to make things 5-5, but then Harvard went on a 3-goal run. They take an 8-5 lead off a Nick Loring goal. Cornell got back to within a goal. They exchanged goals after that, and Harvard ends up winning this game here. For Harvard, Let's see what we got. Sam King, 1-2. I would have thought Harvard's winning this game. King would have had a lot more, but it ends up being Andrew Perry, the midfielder. He goes 3-1 on the day, and Harvard wins this game. And in cage here, Christian Bernard for Harvard, the goalkeeper. He has a monster day, 16 saves against, 8 goals against. Chase Erlin for Cornell played well, 14 saves against, 10 goals against, but it's Bernard has the better day. And then Harvard managed to do this all despite getting absolutely waxed at the faceoff dot. Harvard loses 6 of 22. Jack Kaskadin, he wins 12 of 16. Angelo Petrakis wins 4 of 6. Cornell in all wins 16 of 22 of the faceoffs in this game, and Harvard is still able to get enough defensive stops, enough goalie saves that they're able to win this game. Ray Durth, he has 2 caused turnovers for Harvard. Chase Yeager has 2 more. Hell of a job by Harvard, and they upset highly ranked Cornell. Next one. We've got Brown and Penn, another Ivy League upset here. Brown manages to beat Penn by a goal. The story of this game, I believe, was Brown. Brown. It was Jack Kelly scored the game-winning goal with 2:17 left in the game, unassisted for Brown. If we come in here, I believe Sam Handley was held to no goals. And let me see. Yep. Sam Handley has no goals off 6 shots, just 2 assists. So credit to the Brown defense for holding him back. Now, Luke Dinola, Gabe Fury, all those guys for Penn put up some points. But then on the Brown side, Griffin King goes for 3 goals, 2 helpers. Jack Kelly and Devin McLean each score 3 goals. Good to have Devin McLean back in the lineup for Brown. That probably factors heavily in this one here. Face-off battle. Matthew Gunty did a good job battling at the dot. He wins 13 of 24 on the day. Chris Arceri goes 12 of 25 for Penn. Not good enough. And then in cage, what do we have here? Connor Theriault, the People's goalie, he goes for 12 saves against 11 goals against. Emmett Carroll looked good for Penn, too. So pretty much a very good battle across the board here, but Brown does just enough. They score the game winner with, 2 minutes, 17 seconds or so left, and they win the game. The other one that I was kind of paying attention to, I had been drinking during the Syracuse game. I tried to get my wife to drive me down the road and drop me off at this one so I could watch the second half. She refused, so I ended up going outside playing catch with my son instead. But Vermont is able to beat Binghamton on the road. It was 6-5 Vermont at the half. They outscored Binghamton 5-4 over the course of the second half to hold on for that 2-goal win. Vermont had an 11-7 lead here late in the fourth quarter. Brock Haley scored unassisted to give them a 4-goal lead. Binghamton scored 2 late to make it a little bit more respectable overall. And Vermont picks up a huge America East win. Like I said, I'm watching this one closely. A, because it's important in terms of the America East turnout. B, it's important because if Vermont can win out and win, what did I say, their last 4 games in the America East, they end up being ranked. That gives Syracuse another ranked win, blah, blah, blah. But, Brock Haley goes 3-1. David Klosterman goes 2-1. So Vermont does enough. What did our boy Tommy Burke do? 13 of 21 at the dot. Not terrible. 8 ground balls. And Vermont picks up, let's see, goalie situation here. Matt Schaefer, 11 saves for Vermont against, 9 goals against. Holy shit. Connor Winters for BU. 20 saves for Connor Winters against just 11 goals against for BU. So he did all he could to stand on his head and keep his team in it. Vermont, the better team on this day. In Binghamton, they win. UMass against Richmond, conference game here. I was curious to see how it played out. I was watching this one before the Syracuse game started, and it was Richmond taking a 13-9 lead as UMass had to try to battle back towards the end. And, they got back to within 2 goals. UMass did late. Mike Tobin scored with 2:02 left to make it a 1-goal game in favor of Richmond, and Richmond is able to hold them off for the conference win. And let's see who did what here. Mike Tobin, 3-2 for UMass. We come down to Richmond, though. I'm just trying to find who had the points here. Dalton Young. Dalton Young for Richmond, 2 goals, 5 helpers for 7 points off just 6 shots. So a hell of a job by Dalton Young. And then in cage here, both goalies had a terrible day. We're not going to talk about that. That's it for my games that I absolutely wanted to talk about. And because it's Easter, that's it. I see High Point beat Hobart by a goal. Georgetown, Providence hung a little bit tighter with Georgetown than I thought they would. So that factored here. Who else do we got? There wasn't a ton of, there was a bunch of good games overall, but it just was not as an exciting time as in terms of matchups because it wasn't just not as many close games overall. And let's see here. Army ends up beating Colgate by a goal on the road, so that's a big deal. Bryant beat up on Albany. That's now an American East contest, so that's a big deal. And that's it. There's not games today because it's Easter. So I'm going to shut the hell up now. I'm going to shut up. Everyone, I hope you enjoy your Easter. I'm about to have a meal here with family. I'm going to be late in getting this out and everything, so they're going to be here while I'm still cutting this up. But as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Back to Wednesdays for the preview show. No more Section 4 podcast. I'm going to just put that crap up on Twitter. Couldn't get enough information from coaches to even make it worth my time. For the most part, I had nothing to talk about. Therefore, what was I going to do? So the college lacrosse preview show is back to Wednesday, so come back Wednesday to watch that, and enjoy your Easter. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and Hoost is out. The LaxFactor Podcast.